My name is Maddie, and I'm a student editor here at the Virtual Voice. A few weeks ago, I interviewed Joy Liu, our student trustee for the OCDSB. Conversation about the ME project, what this means for the OCDSB, the power of breaking the stigma around periods, and how it can all start with us in our classrooms and our amazing school board. This is a little bit about Joy and how she stepped up with Charles, her co-trustee, to the role. That's really cool. Do you have other kind of goals for your term or for your year?
In terms of concrete initiatives, aside from the Me project, we don't really have any other projects per se lined up, unless we start developing them on Student Senate. So right now we're doing some year planning. Depending on what Student Senate does, it might be a project, it might be an initiative coming out of there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think for me, it's less about necessarily achieving policy changes, because policy changes take years to enact, right? So I can't say in one term I'm gonna change this, this, and this.
Yeah.
But it's more so a series of issues that I'm following as a student trustee this year. So one of them includes the police involvement in schools review. That includes the SRO program, but that's something that I've been following pretty closely just because it's a very complicated problem.
Yeah.
So that's one. Things one problem this year has been students' IEPs haven't been fulfilled very often, especially if they're virtual students, stuff like that. So that's something I'm keeping track of.
Great.
The development of the human rights policy at the OCSB, it's too long of an explanation for me to go into, but Charles and I have been getting involved in sort of the preliminary discussions surrounding that.
Yeah.
I also meant to look into some of the more equity-related policies at the OCSB, so the Human Rights Advisor, she sent me some, and I'll probably look at that.
It's amazing.
But yeah, it's a lot of that, and it's a lot of sort of being involved in whatever the school board is working in.
No, yeah, and we can, I want to take a second now to say thank you, because you're doing this on behalf of thousands of students, right? All over the city. No, really. And these aren't just initiatives that you kind of came up with, but they've been things that have been a problem for students around the city for years, and we're taking steps to address them, even if they're little steps, even if you're talking to your director, or for all students listening, talking to your teacher, bringing these issues up, and that makes a difference. So that's great. And I mean, I really like those goals, but I did tune into the Period Pack Instagram yesterday, and that was really cool. And just kind of a rundown, where did you get the idea for the project, for the MU project?
So this wasn't, technically it wasn't originally my idea, because the last year's student trustees, President Gannabout, they'd already started, working on this. It was mostly Gannabout. He started, just talking to students about it at roundtables. He asked questions about the pilot that's running at one of our elementary schools. So we knew it was something on their radar, and COVID kind of swept things, aside for a little bit.
Yeah.
And they weren't able to, make it a policy thing.
Definitely.
So Charles and I were okay, then, naturally, it's a great project, let's adopt that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly something we came up with ourselves. It's more so a continuation of work that's already being done.
Yeah, no, and policies, like you said, they do take a long time to enact. And, since your term is only, is it a year? Is it from, February to February?
It's from August to July.
Wow. See, so it's a short period of time, but taking those little tiny steps. So was it last year's Student Senate, and then they kind of had the idea, and then you're kind of developing it a little bit more?
Yeah, so last year's student trustee, Gannabout Gagne, he started working on this. Yeah.
Wow, so it's been in the works for almost 2 years, I want to say?
Ish, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And so when you kind of took it on, what was the, general impact you'd hope it'll have for, not just OCSB students now, post-pandemic, hopefully for the future?
So a couple things, right? First and foremost, students who can't, who can't reliably, access the products, say, just at home, or afford them for themselves, we want to make sure that they can get access to them, at school, right?
Definitely.
And I remember I remember sometimes people would ask me, what about hoarding? What if that's a problem?
Yeah.
And, if hoarding is an issue, then clearly we're just fulfilling a need that needs to be met, right?
Yeah.
If someone needs to stock up, essentially. So there's those students that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Then I think what applies more broadly to the rest of the OCSB population is, students who menstruate like myself don't want to have to try and miss class trying to find a pad some of the stories I read in the Me Project letter was that, people were using, like, toilet paper when they couldn't find one, and, like, that would lead to them being distracted in class, right? So it's really about making sure the students can fully participate. And also, like, for, like, trans and non-binary students, for example, if they're closeted, then it's even harder for them to access these products outside of school. So maybe that's a need that will be fulfilling, but also placing, like, the products in the stalls of male washrooms. Like, I think on a cultural level, that's also something that helps just work towards generally the inclusion of, like, gender diverse students in public spaces, right?
No, and definitely, because it's a human, no, definitely, and it's a human right, it's a human need, right? I know Ireland has taken on the initiative, like, as a country, and taking that step as a board would be really, really cool. And like you said, do you think this will, and this is a larger scale question, it might even be out of our hands, but do you think the OCDSB will kind of keep the initiative going, hopefully, for years on end, or is it just a short-term
team? I do want to clarify, it is a motion, and we still have to pass the motion on Tuesday, so it's, like, not, like, I'm fairly optimistic that we'll get it passed, but, okay, well, but, like, no guarantees what I'm saying. But, so if we do get it passed, though, then this is something that's going to stay permanent, basically.
Amazing.
Like, the motion, like, it's a motion, so the school board has to follow it, and it'll be kind of rolled into the general facilities budget at the school board. And I've talked to, like, the CFO about this, and he's like, I'm like, is funding ever going to be cut? And he's like, probably not. Like, he compared it to keeping the lights on, right? If you're trying to look at places to defund in a budget, this is not going to be one of them. So it'll be pretty, like, I don't think you're going to see these products being removed anytime soon.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely catching on, right? So I saw a couple days ago you made a post that you had a bunch of students talking at the meeting, right, for vouching for the motion. That's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so all community members are allowed to present a delegation and speak at the board meetings. Well, so on our Instagram post, like, Charles and I just kind of, like, made a call for delegations. We're like, if anyone here supports this and wants to speak about it at the board meeting, we encourage you to sign up.
Awesome.
And they all just, like, they signed up. We didn't even ask them directly. They all signed up. And I'm really grateful because I think that it's even more compelling to the trustees that they have real students talking about this and advocating for this.
The motion was passed. Amazing. And 1,433 people supported the cause by signing the letter provided by the trustees. And I want to say a huge, huge thank you on behalf of everybody in the OCSB, to Joy, to Charles, our amazing student trustees, to any staff on the boards of trustees who passed this motion. We're taking little steps, but it's all going to culminate to a great achievement. So thank you.